Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. So today's topic is really a good one, and I'm really excited about this because this is something exactly that I've been thinking about this myself, because, you know, we find ourselves so often, don't we? We find ourselves so often in this place of really wanting something, but never getting off the dime to get it. Anyone? You know, pinkies up. We all do it. We all do it. We think, oh my gosh, it's just, you know, whatever. And it reminds me of, and Mark always does this, and it just drives me crazy. And don't tell him I'm saying this, but it drives me crazy. And I say, you know, what would you wish for? And win the lottery? And you know, come on. You know, that's just, wishful thinking doesn't do a darn thing for you, does it? It doesn't do anything for you. As a matter of fact, wishful thinking to me is just massively frustration, because wishful thinking doesn't have anything attached to it. It's just like this little bubble that comes up. It's nothing. And it's dumb because it's a lot of energy toward nothingness. Whereas desire, that's a strong feeling that we have inside. We have desire, really want something. And it's different than craving too, which we're going to unpack as well. But I really want to talk about this difference between desire and wishing, because the difference will help to motivate you and put you into the right lane, if you will, to really get the job done. And isn't that what we want? We want to be putting our energy towards something that actually gives us that momentum, so we can harness the magic of momentum and motivation and have that magical moment where things are starting to fall into place. Because we all have this, you know, there's this like weird gap. We talk about those gaps. There's this weird gap of, this is what I want, this is what I'm setting up for, this is what I'm prepared for. And it just requires those little action steps to get us beyond and onto the other side, that and that wishful thinking versus the hot desire to do something is what holds us back. So desire is, it says in the dictionary, we always go there, a strong feeling of wanting to have something, a strong feeling. Now remember that feelings are good things when they're harnessed for good, and when they're harnessed for the things that we want, when it's something that we can use to our advantage or the advantage of others. Feelings are a good thing. Where we get into trouble with feelings is when we're spending a lot of time and a lot of energy on something that's useless, like our past. Not a lot we can do about the past. The past is the past, no one has a time machine to go back so we can fix the past. So it's useless to put all of our good emotion and hot desire into things of the past when we can put it toward the things of today and the things that we want of tomorrow. So what I wrote here was that desire is activated by action. Remember how we were talking, I believe it was either on Monday or last week sometime, we were talking about just a little bit, how just a little bit is sometimes just the trigger. You know, just putting on those workout shoes, those your costume, I was calling it, you know, dressing up in costume. You see it with your kids. As soon as they dress up in costume, they act out as their costumed selves. You know, if they've got a Superman costume on or something, they're just like charging through the house, you know, and doing all these things because they're in costume. We should get in costume too. That costume changing thing is motivated by what? A hot desire for something in our future, a hot desire to be and to become something. So just a little bit of doing something really helps. Just a little bit of putting on the shoes, just a little bit of packing the gym bag, just a little bit of making your own bone broth and getting your stuff ready for your Target Trifecta smoothies. Just a little bit of doing will oftentimes help to push us over the edge so that we actually do. And isn't it interesting how that whole thing works? And it starts, though, with this hot desire. I really want this thing. So we need to embrace those emotions, but make sure that those emotions, that hot desire, that strong feeling that we have, is for our greater good or the greater good of others, right? Not for something that we can't do anything about. That leads to wishful thinking and frustration. And wishful thinking and frustration don't do anything, whereas a hot desire is extraordinarily motivating. So wishing for something to happen is passive too, by the way. It is passive because it doesn't require anything of you. You might have a lot of energy going that way and a lot of thoughts into that. Oh, I wish I could, and I wish I was as strong-willed as so-and-so. I wish I could. And we end up falling into the trap of comparison. We end up falling into a trap of feeling like we're helpless, we're victims, we can't do anything. Do you see how wishful thinking isn't so helpful? Whereas having a hot desire, having a desire in our hearts can end up being that motivation, can end up being that truth that pushes us to the next thing, and just a little bit of this and just a little bit of that, and it carries us and takes us toward the goal, that vision that we have, that vibrant vision that we have for ourselves, instead of letting us down and making us feel like an utter failure all the time. That's the difference between wishful thinking and having a desire. So strong desire will come with strong emotions. Let's allow them. Let's allow them. Let's allow that emotion to fuel the vision. Because when we're fueling our vision, we're starting to see things. We're starting to see ourselves walk into that room 1 year from now, and people's jaws drop and say, what did you do? You look completely different. And it's not just about that, of course. I'm using that as a very strong visual. It's also walking into a room and saying, you know what? I feel good for the first time in a very long time. It's walking into a room and having confidence with yourself. It's walking into a room and not feeling like I have to disappear, or shrinking back from not taking photos, or whatever it is that is maybe current behavior. This is what having a hot desire does. It motivates us to take one step, and it motivates us to take the next one after that. So sometimes we have to separate, though, do a little cosmic surgery, if you will, from having a hot desire for things that are lifting up and lifting you up and those around you, versus one that's maybe not so good. I had a woman one time who, this is a very long time ago when I was doing some coaching, and she was trying to get out of a relationship with a married man. She had a hot desire for this married man. And I was very plain with her that is just, she is that hot desire for something that she shouldn't have a desire for somebody else's spouse, isn't going to lead her down the right road. Now, of course, she went the wrong way, and you can guess what the end of the story was. Absolutely brokenhearted, devastated, broken marriages, all kinds of just destruction everywhere. Our desires, of course, need to be appropriate. They need to be for us, for lifting ourselves up and lifting up others. Otherwise, the desire needs to be scrutinized, doesn't it? But we also, for those of us who are, especially those of us who are addicted eaters and have food addictions in the past, and by the way, we're going to be doing a food addiction webinar that will be coming up. We'll announce that probably the end of this week, so pay attention for that. As a food addict, as somebody who has struggled with this and struggled with sugar addiction, carb addiction, and just, back and forth and gone through the whole thing, I get it. But we need to do some cosmic surgery here, because there's hot desire for things that are good for you and good for others. And there are things that aren't, like I just gave you. And then there's also cravings. Now, let's just talk about what a craving is. A craving has nothing to do with desire, okay? Even though we oftentimes mix them up. Because what's going on inside of us, and when we understand this, that there's a physiological thing inside of us, with this whole thing about, cravings. We crave something. I mean, we think about it, we crave it, and it just perpetuates it and makes it worse. Well, that's part of the thought process, maybe, but there's also physiological need, if you will. There's also a biological pleasure center that's tripped in your brain as well. There's a lot that's connected onto that, but they're not. Cravings are not the same as desire. Desire is something that propels you toward the vision of yourself. Cravings are something that come up, and then we deal with them. When we understand that's biological, physiological, and things that we can handle, we pull out the L-glutamine, we pull out the crave crusher, we make sure that our diet is on point, we make sure we're hydrated, we're sleeping, and we're moving. We have remedies for all of these cravings. And trust me, as a former food addict, or a recovering one forever, I will say probably, it is one step in front of the other, and the cravings do diminish. They do diminish, but we don't put our guards down. We're not foolish. We don't put our guards down. It's just like alcoholics don't order a martini and have it sitting in front of them and saying, am I going to be tempted by this, right? Same idea. So let's get to the place then of what it is to harness the desire drivers that are in our lives. I've got 4 things for you, and I think this is really going to help. The other thing that I need to connect though with you first, just real quick as I'm thinking about it, is that desire is the thing that takes you to the long-term plan of what you want. That's the thing that spans it. The desire, not the wishful thinking, of course, but the desire takes you there. So remember that as we're talking about this, because this is all, part and parcel. So number one, desire and cravings differentiate between them. They're 2 very different things. So make sure that you understand a craving for chocolate versus a hot desire to live your life as vibrantly as possible are 2 very different things. Separate them out, okay? Just do yourself a favor and separate them out. As a matter of fact, we'll talk about it. We have tools for that, right? Number 2, desire is driven by emotion. Use it. Use it. Allow that emotion, allow all of it to flow out of you. Create a vibrant vision board of what you see your life looking like in 1 year from today. What do you want it to look like? How do you want to feel about yourself? What does your family look like? What does your life look like? What does your house look like? What is everything that you want, that you have a hot desire for? Put a vision board out of it so you can start to see it on a regular basis. You'll see it on the vision board, and you'll see it in your mind's eye. And what a difference that makes. This is how I ended up in this house on the lake. This is how I ended up here, was from my vibrant vision board that I created back in 2017. Things happen when you allow your mind to be stimulated by the proper things. The other thing though is that you need to you need to hold your own vision as well as seeing this vision. You need to have things written in front of you, setting up your, setting your little quotes and setting up your supportive, intentional environment. All of this makes such a difference. All of it does. Use your journal. Have a time of meditation. As you're going to sleep, see yourself 1 year from today. That's one of the things that I do 1 year from today. And I have a vision of walking out onto a stage with a big crowded theater, because I believe we are bringing in women right now who need this type of a community. We are bringing those women in. So I have this vision. I see myself, I see the dress, I see even the high heels. I'll need to practice in those. I haven't worn heels forever, but I see all of it. I see what it is that I want to see, what I'm seeing for my own future. As you go to bed at night, as you start to fall asleep, what a tool that is. You know why? Because it's starting to connect your conscious brain with your unconscious brain. This is kind of a magical time. Use it. Number 3, allow desire to inspire, okay? Channel it into your goals. Don't just let it go away. Don't just say, well, that's what I desire and everything. And don't allow it to become wishful thinking. Wishful thinking is useless. Wishful thinking does nothing but frustrate. But desire, hot desire, pivoted and pointed toward a goal, that's fuel for the fire. And that fire is going to get you to the next place. That fire is for your desire. That's what it's for. And I'll tell you, when you feel like that and you feel like, yes, I want that more than anything, it happens somehow, cosmically, magically. you have more momentum going for you than you've ever had before. You can feel it as you're doing all the things that you're supposed to be doing. Do you see that? Do you see what the difference is? Can you see how desire inspires you to move to the place of having exactly what it is that you want? So that's number 4. So, don't worry about having this kind of a desire. Don't worry about the hows. The hows will always show up. They always do. They always do. I told you the story when I kept saying to Mark, but this is what's on my vision board. This is the house that I want, because we were looking at all these other houses, and I almost said, okay, well, we can compromise. And then I said, I'm going to hold out. I'm going to hold out for exactly what it is I want, because this is the lifestyle that I want. This is all the things, and it's the things that, he did too. And what I found when I stopped doing that, and when I stopped just, trying to compromise and push things, the house came into place. The house came into place. And we went and looked at houses that were way beyond our budget. Way beyond, hell, thankfully, Mark is a real estate broker, so we were able to get into these houses without disturbing people, so that was a different thing. But we went into places that we were not qualified to own. But you know what it did? It got me into the place of looking out and saying, yes, this is a possibility. This could be happening for me. And I even have on my phone voice memos of video and talking about, this is my house. I'm looking from my window. This is what I see. I talked about full bloom. I'm doing my full bloom events right here. My lovelies are getting on our boat right here. And I talk about that. You know why? Hot desire. Hot desire fuels the vision. Hot desire creates the vibrant vision. And the last thing is, let's just be very plain. Wishful thinking is a colossal waste of time. It does nothing except frustrate you. It does nothing except put you into the place of comparison. It does nothing except exhaust you. It doesn't give you anything back in return. Whereas that hot desire is going to get you up and moving. It's going to get you up and making a decision for yourself instead of for your bed, if it's getting up in the morning to go work out or whatever it is, whatever your hot desire is. It brings us past that point and bridges the gap between that kind of either a small regret or a great big huge regret of not doing the things that you wish you had. This is why I wanted to talk about this today, because you have the ability at any time to drop the wishful thinking and instead harness hot desire. Instead of just saying, I just wish, and oh well, it's not for me, and it's not to be, and it's too hard, and it's all of that negativity you can dash away by just saying, this is what I desire. This is what I want my life to look like. This is the vibrant vision for my life. And it's all fueled by hot desire. I don't know about you, but I certainly have it. I know you do too. Make sure that you differentiate between it, because hot desire is so much different than a craving, so much different than wishful thinking, and hot desire is going to take you to the place you want to go. Amen? You ready for that? I certainly am. I'm ready for the next level. Peace be with you. I appreciate you so much. Bye. Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.